The grind. For those of us who are avid RPG players, we know exactly what this is. Whether it's XP-based D&D, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, Final Fantasy, like all of them, Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, heck even Pokemon's got a grind, man. Guys, if there is XP to be gained, if there are levels to be earned, if there are stats to be boosted, then there is a small community of people out there min-maxing their characters and breaking the game because of how efficient their characters are. Well, my friends, today that min-maxer is we. And we is not optimizing our stats for a video game. No. Today we are min-maxing ourselves. Part 1. Habits. Now, min-maxing is a very delicate process that takes a lot of time to develop. The process of min-maxing involves exploiting our brains and how it functions. Our prefrontal cortex is responsible for executive functions, voluntary decisions, and holding short-term or working memory. Our hippocampus stores these working memories over a very long period of time. Depending on what type of information is stored, it will either go to the cerebral cortex, also known as the neocortex, or it will go to the basal ganglia, which is responsible for procedural memory, which is a very fancy word for habits. The beautiful thing about habits, my friends, is that they are an automated process that we don't need to think about at all. Now, the tricky part about habits is that they require conscious effort to actually build them, but it can actually be quite fun. Since we're trying to min-max our D&D stats, it would make sense to begin with these. We can choose to start with strength, constitution, dexterity, wisdom, charisma, or intelligence. What we want to do starting off is establish a baseline for each stat so that we can keep track of all the progress that we make over time. Part 2, planning. Now, if we want to make our habit building process as efficient as possible, we have got to do a little bit of legwork before we start. Now, let us use strength as an example. A very common mistake that most people make whenever they start trying to work out is that they just start. They start, they do it for a little bit, they don't immediately see the results that they want, and they quit after like a month or a week. It's hard. And most people are lazy, myself included. Now, the reason people quit after such a short period of time is actually threefold. 1, they didn't have a strong enough why. 2, they didn't have a clear vision of what it was they're trying to accomplish. And 3, their expectations were just completely unreasonable. If we can figure out our whys, if we have a strong enough vision for what we want the end results to be, we can then start forming realistic expectations. What is our goal? What do we want to see? How do we get there? How long is it going to take to get there? The most difficult question to answer is, how do we start? I recommend starting by creating a plan that you can execute in the future. This saves us the trouble of actually having to think about what we're going to do when we're supposed to be doing it. I also recommend starting with baby steps. We have to know ourselves and what we are realistically willing to do. Our goal shouldn't be to work out more. Our goal should be to build the habit of working out. Compared to other parts of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, brand spanking new. Which means it doesn't have as much influence over our behaviors as older pre-established parts of our brain, like the basal ganglia. You can think of your prefrontal cortex as your willpower or your stamina bar. We have a very limited amount that we can use. Our goal is to use the least amount of voluntary action as possible. My friends, if we can turn working out into an automated process, then we don't have to spend time, energy, or willpower thinking about it. Part 3, willpower. As I said before, I like to think of willpower as a finite but extremely powerful resource. Willpower should be reserved for when you really need it and nothing else. We need to pick one priority and spend just enough willpower on it so that it has a fully built and primed engine of its own. The more willpower we have in the bank, the more we can spend it on building other automated processes. So how exactly do we increase the amount of willpower that we have? We increase the willpower we have in our stores by not spending it. How do we not spend it? First, we have to figure out what exactly it is we're spending our willpower on. We keep what we want nice and safe. We're going to put that over here and we're going to take the rest of it and delete it from reality. It's gone. We don't want it, don't need it, get rid of it. A new habit's worst nemesis is distraction and temptation. Just as we spend our willpower on the things that we want to do, so too do we spend our willpower on things that we're trying not to do, or just don't want to do. If the new habit we're trying to build is working out and we're in an environment filled with other things that we could be doing, the likelihood of building our new habit goes down. You could be thinking, my room's dirty, I should probably clean that. Or, dang, I got homework to do. Or, you know, I'm feeling kind of hungry, I should eat something. Or, realistically, I'd rather just freaking play Smash Bros. As long as all of these other alternatives exist, the habit you're trying to build, it's in danger. This is why we must remove the potential of distraction and temptation from our immediate reality, or we remove ourselves from such a tempting environment. The further we are physically from temptation and distraction, the further we are psychologically. Part 4. Prioritizing. Now that we have discussed how to go about building a habit, it's time to think about what habits we want to prioritize. Every single habit that we build from this moment forward should be geared towards our vision. Every single one of them. If we're building a habit because it's what we think someone else wants us to do, then no, bad. You stop doing that right now. If it doesn't contribute to the vision, it's a waste of time. And I'm serious. This is my serious face, man. If it does not contribute to the vision, it is a waste of time. It all circles back to the vision. We have to take time to seriously think about it. What are we most discontent about? What do we most want to see change right now? What habits, if we build right now, will help us get closer to that vision? For me, it was working out. I was totally insecure. I didn't really like the way I looked, and I most certainly didn't like the way I felt about myself. Whether I knew it or not, I had a vision, and my vision was to become more like Batman. So the first habit I decided to build was working out. Once that turned into an automated process, once it turned into something I didn't really need to think about, I moved on to reading and doing research, and it really just kind of builds from there. What habits we build and prioritize will differ depending on the individual in question and that individual's priorities. Recap. Just like any RPG, min-maxing is going to require us to grind our little hearts out. The min-maxing process is volatile and requires us to build very strong habits. In order to properly build habits, it's important to keep in mind how our brain works. We have to use our prefrontal cortex to inscribe the habits into our basal ganglia. With this rudimentary understanding of how the brain works, we then have to figure out our why. We have to form realistic expectations. We have to plan what kind of results we would like to see from our efforts. We need to plan when, where, and how much time we want to spend building each habit. We have to keep in mind that willpower is a limited resource, and we must remove distraction and temptation. And finally, we have to prioritize what habits we want to build and how it ties back to our vision. Remember, the road to level 20 is an arduous one, and we can't do it alone. Guys, once again, I would like to take the time to thank you so much for watching this video all the way through to the end. It means the world to me. I have taken the liberty to include some more resources in the description that should help you all with your journey. Alright guys, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.